Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Ekoki Otaku. Today with us, we don't have one special guest, we have two special guests today with us. First special guest, he voices Yin Yu in Heaven's Official Blessing. Fay Theo Philus or Philus?
Yes, Philus.
Okay. In God's Game We Play, we're going to talk about that one first for sure. Noid 262 in Metallic Rouge, Keith Powell in Sugar Apple Fairy Tale, and Paulo in That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime, Visions of Coleus. And then for our second guest, she voices Asta Canarial in God's Game We Play, Meimei in the Apothecary Diaries, Lawine. Yes, I know Apothecary Diaries. We're definitely going to talk about that one. Lawine and Frieren, Beyond Journey's End, and Rin Fujishiro in A Sign of Affection. So please give it up for Ryan, Negrón, and Rebecca, Danae.
A big night. Ryan, thank you so much for joining us tonight. And Rebecca, also, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having us. We're really excited.
Thank you.
Rebecca and I were talking nonstop, when I pitched the idea for you should do this interview with me, this podcast interview. Once I sold her on it and we got it cleared, we just couldn't stop talking about it. So we're super excited for today.
Guys, mi casa, tu casa, so feel free to do whatever.
Gracias.
Yeah. So definitely, Full House is the first time we're doing this to guests. We did something similar one time in Spanish, which we had 5 voice actors or 7, but that was Mission Impossible.
It was hectic.
That's wild to me. It sounds like a wild Discord call.
I think that was one of the most format episodes. We were like 5 minutes. I had to go, cut, next! And when I switched, I was in the background, when some other guy in the background, and there was another one in the background telling them, "You're next, get ready." I feel like he started a late night show that
That's
night.
funny.
But anyway, let's start with the least big series. Let's start with the latest one. I just threw out the list here. God's Game We Play, one of the latest Crunchyroll announced simul dub, which for those who doesn't know or are new in the anime world, simul dub, it means the moment it's released in Japan on original language, on Japanese with sub, is also released in America, United States, Caribbean, in English dub, and other language Eastern dub. Big production, big expectation, big challenges. And Raya had the main character of Fay Theo Philus, and Rebecca had the character of Asta Canarial. Did I say right, Rebecca, or screw up the last name?
I think that's fine.
No, that sounds great. You give that Latin.
Spanish.
I guess you give that Latin flair to a Canarial. I was like, all right,
That sounds nice. I like
took her out of Spain and put her in PR.
I was a microsecond. I was like, okay, how am I going to jump here?
Wait. So backstage, you guys were saying that she appears in the second episode, and we have not been able to watch the second episode. And Ryan, you said she's from Spain.
Oh no! I was saying because Onyx said Canarial, I was like, oh, we took her out of because most people say Asta Canarial. I was like, okay, that's a super European pronunciation of the name. He put that Latin flair on it, so I said we took Asta out of Spain and put her in Puerto Rico, gave her that Canarial. I was like, all right, that's what I meant by that.
I mean, why not? For those who haven't seen yet this new series, and of course we're not going to spoil everything, but we're episode 2, probably with a few days of editing. You probably should catch. And I'm a person that spoils doesn't hit me the other way. They really push me to watch a series. So, Ryan, Rebecca, how would you describe this new series?
Do you want me to take it on?
You're the main lead. Why not?
So, in God's Games We Play, it follows the journey of right now 2, about to be 3 apostles. They are people chosen by the gods with super abilities. One is an ex-god. Long story short, the series follows Fay as he attempts to conquer the gods' games. In this world, I believe it was 98% of the world is uninhabitable. It's all like super, like, think like the Dark Continent from Hunter x Hunter. That's what the rest of the world looks like. So in order to traverse the world, the gods hold these games because they're bored, essentially. And if a human wins these games, they get this power that allows them to, different varying forms of power. They're called arises. If they win the game, they can use this power in the real world. Because when they compete in these gods games, they go to, it's called elements, or the superior spiritual realm. That's where all the gods games take place. So the goal of the series, Fay and Lashea, who is an ex-god, an ex-dragon god, are trying to win the gods games. They have to win 10 individual rounds of these competitions to win the gods games so they can get their wishes granted. Fay wants to find the woman who taught him to play games. Lashea wants to become a god again because she, that's a little bit of a spoiler, but you find out in episode 1 why she's no longer a god. But yeah, so that's what gods games you play is about.
I mean, I'm so close to spoil why she.
It's funny. It's so funny why she does. It's so funny why she. You know what?
They spoiled it because when I saw it, I was like, "Yeah, that's me. That's me." Yeah, really.
So, because episode 1's out, it's funny, and she says it like in the first couple episodes, in the first couple minutes, essentially. So Lashea, or her full name is Leo Lashea, the dragon god. She was playing hide and go seek 3,000 years ago. And she hit at the bottom of the ocean. She fell asleep, and then the Ice Age happened. So people like forgot about her, and they stopped worshiping her. So she lost her god status because she fell asleep. And now she's like, I got to get back into the gods world, man. And then Faye asks her, like, how did you lose your godhood? She's like, I fell asleep for 3,000 years, and they forgot I existed. Lashea is played by Trisha Milan. Like, she's absolutely crushing it. I'm in a weird position because I record all my lines first most of the time, and then Trisha comes in, and I only hear it when it's done. And I was like, oh my god, she's so good! Like, but that's God's games you play. Long story long.
And starting with your character, and going with the Spanish accent again with Asta Canarial. Sorry, how would you describe your characters in the series?
To be honest, I don't really. There's only so much that's out with source material, so it's kind of hard to even say much about her backstory, where she came from, but I know she's an apostle that helps take part in the gods games and participates with Faye and Lashea and to probably other games, but we're not sure when she will come back, what's the next part, but they collaborate together and they have the same goals.
An interesting thing, I just wanted to touch on something like that Rebecca said, how there's not a lot of the source material. This is a very tricky simuldub because usually there's like a manga out where, you're able to work from. There's not a manga that's readily available in the States. It's only available digitally. What there is actually, I have them right here. The only content released for this series right now are 2 light novels.
Only 2.
Only 2. They cover the first 4 episodes. Then after that, it's all in Japanese. Wow. So Rebecca and I are in a very, and the rest of the cast are in a very weird situation because we don't have a lot of source material to pull from. So, for example, and they're doing some things different, it looks like, in the anime than they are in the manga. Because in the manga, Asta appears for a bit then disappears. She's actually in the anime longer than she is in the manga, and then she's in the opening credits, in the opening intro, in this really epic scene. So Rebecca and I are like, she's got to come back. Like, you don't just have that cool intro and it just disappears forever. So I just wanted to say that it's really interesting because I've worked on Metallic Rouge, which is a simuldub, but this is a totally different ball game.
Quick question, because we've heard this from a lot of the voice actors. We have like 2 camps: the people who like to go into a role and actually know and study the role and like go to the source material, and the people who are like, I'll just go in there and do my best and act it out. Where would you guys like put yourselves in those 2 camps? Like, if you had to choose one of those 2, because you were saying there's not that much source material, and if you do place yourself in the study role, I'm in the study and then go into the role, it's kind of hard, I see.
Yeah. Me, I guess I would say if I have the source material, I like to look at it a little bit just to get a feel of the world, but not the character. Most of the time, because sometimes the source material changes in like the adaptations from manga to anime. And also the director has a vision in their head of how they want the characters to act. Of course, we're acting to picture. So it can't be like Faye's crying and I'm laughing. But there's nuances to performances that we have to, be really good at cold reading, which is what a lot of the simuldubs do, which is, well, any voice actor for Crunchyroll or anime, we don't get the scripts ahead of time. We find out what we're doing as we walk in. But I mean, I'd say I'm kind of in the middle of that camp. I mean, like, I love doing cold reads, but I also love doing my dramaturgy. I get that from doing my background in stage. I guess I'm the guy that, I'm the Romeo and Juliet of those two households because I do both.
All right. How about you, Rebecca? Where would you place yourself?
I would say that it kind of depends on the characters. Okay. The characters, because I won't say too much because I'll go into what I had with these future characters, but I feel more comfortable in certain skins of characters and acting them out, and I could just go in and be perfectly fine and no issues, and I could cold read them perfectly because I just understand the character's psychology. But some characters I would feel nervous about because I'm like, I don't understand the psychology, so that's when I start going into studying the source material more, because I feel like I need to come up with something myself if I'm only limited to so much already, because it's sometimes uncomfortable voicing characters that's not in your archetype or wheelhouse. But then that's how you kind of get used to it and good.
That's actually one of the questions I was going to ask. Because of the source material that is provided for you guys, do you feel like it's kind of an uptake on your part if you don't know as much of the character? That way you don't have the issue of psyching yourself out or overthinking how to produce this character's voice while recording?
What do you mean by uptick?
As in, let's say, I'm guessing I'm not a voice actor, so I'm assuming source material can only cover so far. So they'll give you like a general perspective on how to project this character.
Yeah.
So if you have more and more source material that gives you more definition of this character, do you find that to hinder your performance as far as to like making second guess your work on how to if you did it right, if it's faithful to the description that they're providing? Because you're lending your voice to this character, you're giving it life, but you still have your guidelines to follow.
Yeah. It's gonna kind of sound like a cop-out answer, but it kind of varies from actor to actor. I know some actors that fall heavily into whatever the manga or the source material says. I adhere to 100%. I will make no changes. I'm just like, that is what I'm going to, whatever's written, that's what they get. I know for me, I like to put my own spin on it. But the big deciding factor at the end of the day for both my fellow cohorts who think that way than me is the director. The director can read the source material and say, I think that's great. I actually heard his voice a little deeper. I heard it this way or that way.
So in that case, would you reshoot it on a different voice, on a deeper voice, a higher voice? He's the one who calls the shots, I'm assuming. So.
Well, I speak for a living. Can you tell? No. This actually happened with Faye. The first episode, we were halfway through it, and Mike McFarlane, the director, who's a wonderful director, he was like, "Let's stop for a second. You're really in your lower registry." And for just when I'm talking, I guess presenting as how I am now, my voice kind of goes up here. But naturally, I just kind of talk down here. This is where my voice sits. So Faye was naturally down here. And he sounds much older. He sounds closer to Paolo than a 17-year-old. So we kind of stopped, went back and listened. And then Mike's like, okay, I want it in your higher register. Just think higher register, and we'll redo it all. So I went to the front, the first line, thought higher, and I performed from here, from this point on, and that's where Fay sits when I go into record. So, like, they'll fix it right there if they... More often than not, they'll fix it right there and then. Like, it won't get up on the app if there's a problem with it. There's like a booth review, then a mix review, and the director gets to see both. Okay. And so he gets like 2 eyes to see, like, okay, that sounds good, the acting's good on that, or the voice is different, let's go fix it. And it won't... Very rarely does an error or something that the director does not want pass those 2 checks before it gets put up on the app.
Kind of like a quality control thing.
Essentially, yeah. Because one is just for like, okay, did those the booth review is like, did this just kind of go generally well? Then the mix review is like, how is it balanced? Is it balanced well? And then it goes up.
Quick question, Ryan, before we move to the next one. How do you describe Fay character so far in only 2 episodes?
So, I would describe Fay as he is a driven... It's funny. He is a grounded, driven individual who has a past with loneliness. He has something to prove. He is essentially carrying humanity on his back at this point. They call him people have said Fay's going to be the one to win the Gods games and essentially save humanity, which is a lot for a 17-year-old. So that's what driven. He's just driven. He's driven all the while. Likes to have a good time, because that's a big thing he says in a lot of the episodes. It's like, what's the point in playing a game if you're not having fun?
This is a halftime episode question, but I feel I need to do it now because this is the latest simul dub that you guys are at the same time. There's any difference in the pressure between voice acting a simul dub and a non-simul dub series?
Oh, there's a ton of pressure. There's a ton of pressure because it's like, like they were saying, you don't get, like, for example, when Rebecca got Lawine for Frieren, she had an episode a week ahead of time to see what she was going to go in and do. Same thing with Sign of Affection, right? You always had like for all your shows, you had a week ahead of time to watch what was going on. For us, like we're like the hell divers, if you will. But we're kind of jumping feet first into the unknown. The director does as much as they can to give you as much information as they can, and you just have to make a choice and go with it and see how it plays out. That's why for this series, I have actually tried contacting the author to ask questions and just figure out where things are going, just so I have a mental note of what's Fay's journey. But yeah, it can be quite difficult. Metallic Rouge was my first one, and I was like, oh, this is a lot, and it could definitely be intimidating. So you got to be really good at cold reading, and I'd say a pretty good actor to do those things.
What about you, Rebecca?
Yeah, I mean, the same thing as Ryan said. There's a lot of... I don't have as much experience with simuldubs. The only one that I did for the first time was Metallic Rouge for the first episode, and she showed up very little bit and disappeared. Just a little bit person. But it's nice when you're able to look ahead at what you can expect for the next episode and just be like, okay, I could be... what's the emotional range I'm going to show this episode? What am I going to prepare for? And then you just show up and you have all of it just there. You've done your homework pretty much. But Asta's the biggest-ish simuldub character I've had so far, which she's doing her part. She's participating, helping Fay and everyone else, and it's kind of fun. I think it's kind of a fun challenge because I get to also show too to directors and to other people that I'm like, yeah, I can do a simuldub. I can. It's a challenge, but I think it's kind of fun because shows your acting chops, and I enjoy it because I mean I do like to look ahead, but there's kind of something fun with you don't know what's going to happen, but then you get in there and you're like, oh, that's going to happen. It's like a surprise.
Kind of like improv.
Yeah, it is
Really?
kind of.
Yeah.
But the script's right there. But yeah,
Right,
it's
right.
improv.
Yeah, but but that's a good way to say it. It's like acting improv. Like in
Yeah.
terms in terms of like the, because I mean improv is acting, but it's like you're saying where it's like, okay, here we go. That's the first time I'm seeing that scene.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, here we go. Do it. Okay, that's the first time I'm seeing this character. What is their relationship to that? Okay, I got to make a choice. And make the choice. Like my first choice with Faye and Miranda, like the director who's played by Molly Cersei. I was like, yeah, I don't like her, and Mike's like, oh, let's travel a bit. We want a few takes later. He's like, I don't think it's that he dislikes her. I think he's just a little frustrated, but clearly he cares for Miranda. So like, okay, so we go back. So simuldub is a lot of making a choice, going forward, and if it's horrendously wrong, going back and redoing that line. You know, because I've definitely had that where we've made a choice, and I was like, oh wait. Or I'll say, like, I'll ask. Like, I had a recording session with Michelle Rojas, who was helping Mike assistant direct. Michelle is Yamato from One Piece, and I totally like. It wasn't that I botched it; it just was like I didn't have enough information. So I was like, "Can we go back to like we're on like line 308?" And I was like, "Can we go back to like line 6 so I could redo that because it doesn't make any sense."
Wow.
But yeah, so. There's definitely a challenge with simuldubs, but like Rebecca said, it's a fun challenge. It's a fun, like you get to really flex your acting chops and your acting muscles and just have a good time.
Definitely. By the way, Ryan, heads up. When you say Helldivers, I'll bet these two guys, they hear the music, da 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 da. They hold this all super.
We were talking about it while you were getting your mic fixed. I'm gonna play it after this, actually.
But moving on, so we can go to the Helldive right after this recording. Ryan, let's go with you with one of the series. Very interesting. Heaven Official Blessing, Yin Yu, which, correct me wrong, it is a Chinese series, right?
Yeah, it is a Donghua, and I actually, it's funny. They're all under there. I actually just recently got the entire series given to me by the publisher. So I have like all 8 books of the series right now.
Oh.
My friend James Cheek, which is funny. James Cheek plays Hua Sheng in Heaven Official's Blessings, one of the main characters. He's also the writer for God's Games We Play. So fun little crossover there. But Heaven Official Blessing essentially is following Chilian and Hua Sheng as they kind of go. There's mysteries to uncover. I'm still reading it myself. That's why I'm really excited about. Like I kind of talk about it a lot because I'm still discovering things as I read it. There's like these mysteries to be solved. Gods are going missing. There's this unearthly plague that's hit the world, and Chilian is he used to be like a human, then he ascended to godhood, and he got sent back down. They went back up. It's a really beautiful show. It's a boys love novel, and it's a really beautiful representation of like just Chilian and Hua Sheng's like love for each other, how that kind of builds into that. My character, on the other hand, he's described as very plain in the books. Very plain. I didn't know that going in. I didn't know when I got the email to come and record for Heaven Official's Blessing. I was like, that's a cool show, absolutely. So I go in there, and the director, Jerry Jules, like, you're going to be playing Yin Yu. And I was like, appreciate it. I don't know who that is. So then we record it, and I was like, oh, this is great. He has a mask on. I have no lip flaps. You just jump on in and act. And here's one thing. That's every dubbing actor's dream. Like these characters with gas masks on or masks. Oh, dude, you just go crazy. All you're doing is mashing to timing. Like that's, I love that. But so like he has this mask on, so I don't really know a lot about the series at this point. So I was like, oh well, I'm listening to I'm thinking back to all my friends who are in the show, and like I was like, okay, well they talk about it being like just like a hot boy show. Well, I don't know much about this guy. Time to make a choice. So I was like, I'll just put on my bedroom voice. I'll put on like my sexy smooth voice. So I did it, and like I only had like 6 or 7 lines, and the one that was like it's like honored guest, the lord of the city asks for you. I was like, yeah, it's pretty hot. I think myself, I think I'm pretty hot. And so the director's like, great, yeah, he'll come back in later seasons if we have them. I was like, okay, cool, great. I reached out to my friend Monica, mine and Rebecca's friend Monica Flatley, who you should totally have on the show. They're Rouge and Metallic Rouge. Monica is also a huge hyper fan of Heaven Official's Blessing. So I send Monica a screenshot of like, hey, I voiced this guy. Who is he? And they go ballistic. They go, you're him? You're Yin Yu? I was like, that's what they tell me. That's what it said on the timesheet. Like, I don't know anything about it. And Monica proceeds to tell me like the entire backstory of the character. Because as an actor, I don't care about being spoiled. I need to know so I can make my choices.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I really missed the mark with the hot guy voice. He is supposed to be the most plain Jane white sheet, like you would not pick him out in a crowd guy. And I was like, Reggie. That's not it. And then I would go looking at some of the comments about the performance, and people are like, why does he sound so fine, man? He's supposed to be plain. Like, why is he out hottifying like the rest of the dudes? And I was like, hi guys, it's me, Ryan. Sorry, I didn't know. So, but he's a very interesting character because I don't want to spoil too much about him because, fingers crossed we get these other seasons. But he used to be, like a heavenly official, which is essentially God. And at one point he lost that godhood. So when we see him in Ghost City, he has this thing called a cursed shackle on his wrist. And that essentially denotes that, hey, you were once this high and mighty, this like splendorous god, and you did something so bad that we threw you down into Ghost City, essentially, or banished you from where all the officials are, and forever you'll be known as this disgraced god. So Yin Yu's kind of been wandering, trying to find purpose, and Hua Sheng takes him in, and from what my friends have told me, I'm only so far in the books. They're like, yeah, you essentially become like his secretary. Like, you just kind of take care of stuff around the city. Like, so, but he's become a character that's very near and dear to my heart because of the fandom. I have some absolutely wonderful fans out there. Shout out to Sydney and Maya. You guys are great. Thanks for coming to see the show. Sydney and Maya are 2 hyper fans of Heaven Official's Blessing, and they were the ones that came to go see my stage production that I'm doing over in somewhere in Texas. I forgot where. I'm still learning all the different areas, but it's a really if you're into like epics, it's almost like, I would say, like, the Odyssey in terms of the great journeys that these characters go through and the creatures they fight and the stories they tell. It's a very poetic series of books, and the anime, the donghua, is just phenomenal. It is one of the most beautiful series I've ever seen. And the English cast absolutely cleans house. Like, Howard Wang, James Cheek, Brandon Loetta, me. Oh, no.
With the sexy voice.
The sexy Yin Yu voice who's not supposed to sound like that. There's Jacob Eisman. There's a ton just of amazing Aaron Roberts. Ton of amazing voice actors in that. So it's definitely one to check out. And I actually I was at a convention, I found a little, this is him, all sad on his little swing. But that's a character that I'm really excited to delve more into. There's a lot to be told, like a lot of grief, a lot of not feeling like one's enough, and a lot of like coming to terms with the choices that he's made that got him to that point, to now why he has that shackle on his arm. So I'm really hoping we get those seasons that delve into that story, because yeah, sure, I love a paycheck. Who doesn't? But before that, I'm a storyteller, and that story, I am itching so hard to tell this story because it resonates so deeply. Like, I'm like, I need to. Like, it wasn't just a coincidence that I was brought in on that day and didn't know who I was recording for. So that's my elevator pitch for Yin Yu.
and leaving the gods behind for a few minutes. Moving to Rebecca with one of the latest big hit in the anime lineup past 2 seasons, and I'm about to screw up the name. Talking about Frieren, Beyond Journey, and with Lawine.
Lavina.
Her name.
Is it Lawine?
It's okay. A lot of people call her many different names. I've heard like the Japanese is like Lawine. The English is Lavina. I've heard people call her Lawine. A lot of
Lawine.
yeah.
Fancy.
The director called her Lawine once. It was funny. I'm like, yep, that's her.
Rebecca, I'm looking forward to this. How would you describe, before we go into Lawine?
Lavina. What is this in Spanish? Lavina.
Okay, you guys, everything good to say, everything you see me like, help me there. So, we're moving to Lavina. How would you describe this city, Frieren, which really hit many of us?
Man, Frieren. I didn't, honestly, it's kind of funny because when Frieren first came out, I didn't know it was like the anime of this season. I was going to watch it eventually, and then after like maybe 8 episodes, I finally started watching it, and I understood. I was also in Walla for episode 5 of it too. Just with a group of people, we all just did like village people, random backgrounds. But I didn't understand at first how big it was going to be, and then all of a sudden, after watching it, I became a fan, and I didn't even, in my head, I'm like, oh, this is just great. I had no idea I'd get cast as anything. I looked at the manga, I looked ahead for things, and I was just like, man, this is just so good. I understand why everyone likes it so much. And then when I got the email, I was so excited. It was a lot because before that I got Rin, who we'll talk about later, but it was just so much at once with like 2 characters that I grew to really, really love. And Lavina and this story for Frieren is just talking about the journey and after the journey and the connections and appreciating the connection you make with the people around you, and it's just such a beautiful, beautiful world. And the characters are all just very well fleshed out. All of them have a lot of depth and care put into them. And seeing Frieren, Stark, and Fern just travel together and meet new people and then have their own way of just seeing the world, it just was very awesome watching. And then this came up, and then I got Lavina, and it was very, very surprising. And I appreciate Jade so much for giving me the opportunity to tell her story too. In that,
It's actually one of the animes that took a lot of people by surprise, because just the story, if you were to describe it, the laziest way to describe it is like, oh, it's what happens after you hit the peak of what an anime is. Like a hero's anime. Once you defeat the bad guy, oh, happily ever after. It's the happily ever after part that nobody expected it to resonate with everybody else.
yeah, because
It's the whole making connections around the road, it's very impactful. It's one of the things that I personally, at the beginning of the show, was like, why am I going to watch this? This sounds ridiculous. Like, why would I want to see what happens after? Show me what happened before. But now, every day it comes out, I'm just like, okay, let's see what we'll get into today, because we got to find out.
Yeah, because even the most mundane of things is just so beautiful still, because there's such a beauty in even the mundane, because it's just a peaceful era, and just seeing them be challenged in different aspects of life after ending such an epic journey. Frieren had to figure out, why she felt upset after Himmel's death, and then she realized, she just didn't form the proper connections, and then she started not taking those things for granted as much, because she still had a great time with them, but she just didn't understand. And
See, I perceive it as she wasn't, I don't want to say emotionally available, but more like she wasn't in tune with what she was feeling throughout the time.
Yeah.
Because and in a way, you gotta understand, it's to her, time is just an illusion, basically, because they're basically immortal, so there's no rush. And it gives you the perspective of there is no urgency to move forward in life, which is what she visualizes in the differences between her and like the humans, where he fell in love with her too early and she fell in love with him just a little bit too late.
Yeah. So it's just,
which is frustrating because you're like, you could have everything, but now look at you.
But it just makes the story what it is, and it's so beautiful because you just appreciate that, and you start appreciating people around you because of seeing her growing that appreciation too.
Confession. Confession, and I'm not going to spend too much time on this. When the first episode were released on Dub, I gave my opinion to the guys of Ekokyotaku on our chat, and they wanted to crucify me. They hated me because I said I don't like it. But I was telling them, there's something deep in this series. I'm loving the colors. I'm loving everything story, but it's not hitting me right now. I feel like was something emotional, something was going on in my life that I wasn't in the best stage to watch the series, because the first episode just hit me with with existential crisis. When I see this episode, like, wait, this is way deeper. We're talking about how, from my point, I was looking at how life you take as granted, but from the main character point, the elf, Frieren, life was so short as human. We were like insects to her. How the lifespan. So I'm like, I seen how character fell in love with her. She didn't realize because life for her is so fast, so slow, but for him life goes fast. And I see how the crew after defeating, they're all old people. They're dying, and she's still like, what happened yesterday? So I'm here like, I'm getting existential crisis here.
It's funny. Sorry.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, it's like one thing that I was looking at, like, as I was reading it, because I actually I'm catching up on the anime. I've read the manga. I started watching the anime, like the dub, I just don't have a lot of time to watch a lot of stuff. But it's like one thing that I'm pulling from her, it's like how different, like aside from the fact that demons just don't have emotion, but how much different is she? Because, it's not that she doesn't value humans, but it's just like, like time, there's not that connection. There's that odd disconnect where there's this almost similarity to where the demons in the series have this disconnect for human life, because it's like, we just don't think that's bad because we don't understand bad like that. And Frieren is just very much like, I just don't have that same connection in a different way. It's like very eerie to watch because, Frieren's funny. Like, you see how like kind of she doesn't understand a lot of the things that happen in our world. And then you see her fight these demons, and like it's like, you're quite similar in a lot of ways to these things, and they're scared of you, which makes you, if what I'm scared of is scared of you, how terrifying are you then? So it's like a really interesting thing that like you track as Frieren goes throughout, like interacts with all the people that she journeys around with. It's just funny because like this whole series is like, you don't know what you got till it's gone. The series, like.
I feel like that moment was when, after I tried with my emotional existential crisis, that was the scene, that the demon part that really got me like, whoa, there's something here. Okay, there's something beyond here. And that's when I really see me in the couch. Like, okay, next episode, please. And talking about Lawine.
Lavina. It's okay. It's okay.
Oh, just try Lawine.
It's okay. Lavina, yeah.
Lawine.
Oh yeah, sure. Lawine.
Yeah, strike 1, strike 2, strike 3, strike 4, strike 5. How many more strikes? How many?
Lavina. She, on the surface, as you see of the series, she's a very cold, not very welcoming person, but she's always also arguing with Kana. And that's just like a kind of a childhood friend she's just been with or known for a long time in the mage school. And that's all you really get from her. And she has like family who I feel has influenced her past a lot. And there's a lot of expectations and things that she has to get through herself because she really has these older brothers who are in these big positions of power and probably family too, and it's like she wants to be a mage quickly. And Kana's just a friend. I don't know how their history is. They're making a prequel for Frieren, so I'm very excited to see if their history a bit more on how they grow together. But Lawine is just kind of a cold, standoffish person, but she's very determined, a little bratty, a little arrogant, but I like that, you know.
I was going to say, correct me if I'm wrong here, seeing her character, I mean, I have to spoil myself because I'm also like Ryan behind my schedule on the end. Isn't she like the hype character just based on everybody temperature in the whole series?
I think Ubel is probably one of the more popular characters in Frieren right now. But
I mean, hyper on the attitude, like she's like super kind of exciting. Like, no, she's not.
No,
It's Kana.
It's kind of
yeah,
Kana uses the
Kana.
water magic.
well, so I spoiled with the wrong source. My bad. Was it? You were saying?
Kana is like the polar opposite. It's basically, I love a Twitter comment I saw from that described them. Lawine has like black cat energy, and Kana is just like a golden retriever, and they just bounce off each other. So they have such a connection though, and I feel even though they like are constantly seen as fighting all the time, they have such a bond and friendship, and they support each other in ways that is very, very special and fun for just the series. And I feel.
See, I noticed that both the elemental magic that both of them like use, they kind of describe the personality of the character itself. Because if you look at Kana, flower is just literally fluidity. It can become anything. Like it's either always moving or stagnant, and it's always shaping. And then you see Lavine's ice magic, and it's okay, it's cold, it's kind of rigid, but it's still malleable, you know. It just takes a little bit of time, and that's where the balancing between the characters actually makes sense to me. It complements one another, which is why they always in a pair in the show.
Yeah,
I sounded like a nerd. Oh my god.
No, even worse, you sound like an actor. It was worse than you sound like an actor.
noticing those things, and it's great. It's great because noticing those things, because it is true. Kana's, but although Kana was only able to show off the power once Frieren was able to break the barrier, spoilers, I guess, break the barrier and bring water down for Kana to use, but she can't, like, with mages too, it's all about imagination and visions, and envisioning yourself being able to do things. So Kana just... She's still struggling and figuring out how to imagine herself controlling water. And Lawine kind of pushes her to bring her where she needs to be. And I hope that as time goes on, they'll help each other out, where Kana can eventually produce water on her own, maybe. That's how I see it. But it's also... Kana, when she is able to control it, it is very fluid and very, very powerful. So if she's able to one day control it well enough, her and Lawine would be very, very good together, and a very threatening.
Going to the elevator speech right now, Ryan, how would you describe in the elevator description? How do you end up in the voice acting, and how do you end up to the anime too?
How you end up in the voice acting? Well,
Yeah.
So what happens is your family makes a deal with the devil, and they lose, and then your child has to go into acting. That's what happens. We're all here against our will. No, I was kidding.
No, keep going. That was a great story. Keep going.
Improv. No, so what's it called? I mean, everyone's journey is different. Like, I grew up in the theater. My parents actually met doing theater, so I was always around acting growing up. Stage acting particularly. And I just carried that with me. I know I was made to do this, just seeing my parents fall in love with each other again and again and again, watching them perform. And I was like, this is why I'm here. I'm here to tell stories like this. And I took that with me throughout high school and college, and I got my degree in it. And then before I even did any anime, I was doing regional theater, like in Memphis and New York and, Wisconsin. But all through that time, this kind of ties into your next question about voiceover, I was pursuing voiceover. I bought my microphone. I had a mobile setup. Wherever I would go, I would hollow out my closet, put up bedding foam so I could record. And I just would audition. And just try and refine, translate my stage acting skills into my voiceover skills. So that's taken into acting, at least for me, because I grew up around it, and it was always something I wanted to do. For anime in particular, I watched Gundam for the first time. My uncle had a VHS, for all you kids out there. Yeah. And it was of the original Mobile Suit Gundam series. And I watched it, and I heard them speaking in English, and I was like, oh, that's cool. And then later on, I watched Dragon Ball. I was like, wait a minute, these guys are doing these are English voices. These are actors. I want to do that. And I remember telling my friends when I was in high school, one day I'm going to be a voice actor at Funimation. Believe you me. And they were like, no. Because I was in Illinois. I was in Chicago. To go into your second question of voiceover or for anime, that is a whole different ballgame. It's not even I can't talk about this. I got in during the pandemic. I reached out to an email that is no longer even in service because it was a Funimation email. And I said, hey, I just got represented. Here's my professionally produced demo reel. This is my home setup. I'm not asking to be cast. I'm asking for the opportunity to audition. And 2 weeks later, I got my first audition for an anime from Jade Saxton, the director for Frieren. And this was years ago. This was for Strike Witches, if you guys know that show. I was in the first anime I ever recorded for was Strike Witches. That was remote. Now it's a whole different ballgame. I can't really tell people how to get into anime now. It's LA is different from Texas. Texas is different from New York. It's all different. But I will say that if you want to get into anime and you have a passion to do it, you will find a way to do it.
What about you, Redneck?
It's kind of funny. I didn't grow up with theater at all. I didn't even think voice acting as a viable career option. I would watch cartoons. I didn't even connect 2 and 2 that people were talking. I thought, SpongeBob was real, for all but as time went on, I told Ryan this too, he knows, but I grew up, I had zero passion for a lot of things. I didn't care for a lot. In high school, I was in marching band, and I also studied Japanese for 4 years, which was fun because I really liked anime at that time, but I still didn't even think of it as a viable career option. I knew acting existed. I just never bothered with it. I didn't even try. I never even imagined myself as an actor, so that's why I couldn't really do it. And then eventually, in college, I played, I guess, what maybe inspired me, or flipped a little switch in my head, Fire Emblem 3 Houses. And I love Fire Emblem. I love Fire Emblem so much as a game and series, and eventually in college I studied and majored in criminal justice and minored in psychology and family services. So I studied and had this degree and bachelor's, and I could have gone and done I guess that type of work if I wanted to, but then I chose to be an actor because the pandemic hit and I didn't go get a job for a while. So I was like, why not just try this hobby for a bit? And then I tried it out, and it stuck, and I started earning money. Eventually, I had to go get a job, though, because I lived with my mom, and she's like, you need to do something. I was like, okay, yeah, I understood. So I got a job, and I worked at a foster care agency for a while. But then, around that time, I met Ryan. And my current roommate, Erin Nicole Lundquist. I think it's fine to talk about since she brings it up sometimes more than I do. And we all bonded because we did these manga dubs together, and eventually that's how we all met. That's Ryan and I started talking more, and then eventually Erin and I talked about moving in together in Dallas because we wanted to see if there's a possible chance that we could be in Crunchyroll or Funimation. And then that's how my journey happened. But again, like Ryan said, everyone's journey is just so unique, so different, and everyone has a different acting experience. I try to take many classes because I want to be a good actor. I don't have 20 years, but I still care so much about the art and telling stories of characters that I grew to love.
Definitely. And let's bring back the journeys, your journeys again in this series. Talking about the latest and greatest and loved series, the Apothecary. Get us and I'll screw it up
The
again.
Apothecary Diaries.
I have been more saying the Apothecary Diary. I screwed up. I'm like, I just
The best. It's the best you've said.
when Rebecca had the of the lovely Walter, Meimei, and Ryan as the character of Blossom. Didn't you in this one?
No.
No, I was like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. I was like, do you know something I don't know?
I was like, okay.
Great. I don't know how the heck I screwed up. Probably just cross heaven's official blessing with
You know why? I understand why. Because they're both beautiful. Like, the artwork is gorgeous.
Yeah.
I cannot watch a single episode of the Apothecary Diaries without just stopping to look at the background. Because it's that great. It's that detailed. And but both of them, when I first saw the Apothecary Diaries, I was like, it's in China? Because it's not something we're used to, because you think anime, okay, they always put Japan here, Japan there, Japan everywhere. Then when you have an anime based on a whole different place, we're like, wait, what's going on here? And the Apothecary Diaries is one of those, just top-notch, gorgeous drama, everything about it. And Rebecca has Meimei, which is how would you describe her? By the way.
Well, on surface, she is one of the verdigris princesses. There's 3 of them. There's Frieren, voiced by Kieran Strange. There's Joka, by Monica Flatley, who Ryan mentioned earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And myself, Meimei. And we're basically the kind of motherish sisters of Mao Mao, who help take care of her. We're not biologically related, but we just, we're basically sisters in arms working at a brothel. Chinese, but high-end courtesan. That is the correct word. But courtesan is more of a polite way to say it.
I thought it was like, well, one point I was like, that's like service. And then I was like, is that like massage? And to get us somewhere, like, yeah,
It's a type of massage.
It's the red light district.
Yeah, essentially. I mean, like, they're like, it's essentially like, correct me if I'm wrong, Rebecca. It's like they are escorts, but not just for anybody. Like, what was it? In order to in order to get Python, it was like, like high end, like in order to like rent, I guess is the word, like Python. Like people like would lose their yearly wages just to spend some time with one of the 3 sisters of House Verdigris. Like it's not just Joe Schmo from off the street. It's like nobles and kings and stuff. Like princes are the ones that they're the only ones that could afford to be with these 3 women.
Yeah.
Sorry, I feel very strongly about all of Rebecca's characters. So I do a lot of research for
I feel strongly for them too, but I know what they are. But they are very, like Ryan said, they're hard to get with. You have to be a military official. You have to be like kings, princes. big notoriety people. And Meimei is just one of them who I did not read ahead in the Apothecary Diaries, which I kind of think I should have, but I love it. You know, I love it so much. The anime as it came out, I loved it. And Meimei's story, too. She's very, very caring. She has, like, maternal instincts to, like, protect Mau. But she's also someone who's been at this place for a long time. And I don't know, I can spoil things, correct?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Dude, her in the last episode, though, I was like, that's when I felt she shined so much. Like, there are signs of it. I didn't click with it in my head, but she has these feelings, whether they be romantic or not, because there's discussion on whether it is or not, for Lakan. And she wanted to be with him, regardless of whether there were feelings or not. She wanted him to buy her out, but she decided no, and she put her feelings aside and let him meet the woman he actually loved. Which I'm like, that's not an easy thing for someone to do. So I'm like, what an amazing woman she is. And I love her. I hope they have a season 2. I know she'll come back. So I'm very excited.
They have to.
They has been confirmed a season 2 for the Apothecary Diaries. It's such a special series. She was my first named character in Crunchy. So she's also very, very important to me here too, you know. So, but I love her very, very much.
I was totally with you in that last episode. I was like about to cry with everything that she did. It was like, oh my god, like she had the opportunity, and even Mau says it. Oh, I wish it would have been Meimei who would have been bought out. But she was like, that was her choice to show Lawine, hey, here's your true, like your actual true love. It's not me, it's her.
And he chose her, his true love. And it was such an emotional scene.
Oh, yes.
That last episode, I felt like for 5 episodes, we were getting a new image of Lawine. Everybody, different picture, even Mau, mother. And in the last episode, it was like, boom, you guys are wrong. This is the actual picture. This is how it is. And I'm like, holy cow, you guys changed the picture from this last 6 episodes. Should I go back and watch it again so now I can watch what happened with the actual? Because beautiful. It was awesome.
It's such a good series. It's an honor just being in the Apothecary Diaries and Frieren. They're just such beautiful, beautiful shows. It means so much to me.
And talking about, let's stay in that line of beautiful people. Ryan, what's your character in Sugar Apple Fairy Tale with Powell?
Keith Powell. What would you like to know about old Keith Powell?
For those who haven't seen this series yet, Sugar Apple Fairy Tale, how would you describe the sweet series?
Sugar Apple Fairy Tale is would you say shoujo, Rebecca?
Yeah, it's romantic.
Romantic. Yeah, it's like romantic. A lot of cute guys. It's like cute guy harem. But really,
that is true.
It is like there's always some cute dude being introduced into that series. But it essentially follows the story of Anne Halford, who is on a quest to become the next a silver sugar master. Because in this world there are fairies, and then they have this like almost magical. Like these silver sugar apples that they can make these great, beautiful displays with. And Anne wants to be like her mother, who was also a silver sugar master. So the story is following Anne as she tries to achieve this goal. Along the way, she kind of purchases Shao, who is a warrior fairy. Very heavily implied that he is a king of the fairies. And he just kind of how she navigates the world with him and how she's falling in love with him. So it has a good chunk of action, has a good chunk of big chunk of romance.
Drama.
Yeah, and drama. There's a lot of drama in it. But it's one of the prettiest shows I've ever seen. The artwork is absolutely gorgeous. The character designs are otherworldly. Like, Keith was so pretty that I'm currently getting a print made of him because I just was like, I need to, like, he's so cute. But yeah, so that's the series in summation. Keith is a noble. His father used to be the prior Silver Sugar Viscount, and he has essentially left his father's workshop to try and make it on his own because he does not want to be seen as, oh, I only got this because my father was this. He used to be the Silver Sugar Viscount. I want a name for myself. There is, I'm still not totally sure. After I wrapped Sugar Apple, I didn't keep going with it. I'm not sure how much there's left. But it's heavily implied that there was some form of scandal regarding his father. Me and Celeste Perez, you guys interviewed Celeste and Halford. We talked on how we think that Keith and Anne might be related. There was we don't know who Keith's mother is. We don't know who. There's all this stuff, but this is all just fan fiction.
Don't they imply that in one of the episodes too?
Yep, it's one of the lines I really like the most from season 1 is something with my dad. I can't ruin his reputation. And there's this very distinct shot of his face, and it carries into season 2 of I need to honor my father's reputation while making one of my own, because something happened with his father where there was we don't know enough. Apparently, the author Keith was her favorite, and she was I feel really bad because when all the men she'd introduced up to that point after Jonas, no one trusted them because they're all these guys are trying to kill Anne. So when Keith got introduced, no one trusted him. And so she felt bad. So I think they said that there is a short story, a light novel written about Keith finding his love in the Japanese. I have to find it because I'd like to find out what happens to the dude. But yeah, that's Keith. He meets Anne, and he's one of the only people who support her right off the jump and just believes that she can do it. He doesn't see her as oh, you're a woman, Silver Sugar Master. It's just, oh, you're going to be a Silver Sugar Master. I can see the work that you do. And there's never any jealousy. It's all just honest to goodness of, you're really good, Anne, and I want to see you succeed and get your dreams. So, yeah, Keith was fun to play. He was my first, the first bigger role that I was definitely still figuring out my own vocal range when I was cast as Keith, because it's hard for me to dip back into his range. Because I have more hair on my chest now. Guys like Keith don't have hair on the chest. But it's but yeah, Keith was I still hold Keith very closely to my heart because of him being that first big role I booked in a series. And the really cool thing about that series, Sean Gann, who is directed, he directs Apothecary Diaries as well. That show was Latino focused. Almost all of the actors were in some way, shape, or form Latin. So I'm eternally grateful to Sean for casting me as that first big thing. There are 2 directors that I swear by because they're the reason I'm even here. Well, 3 now. It's Jade gave me my first audition. Sean kept me in with Shinobi no Itsuki and Keith, and Mike is the one that kind of grew me, and he worked with me and grew my acting and my ADR to now I'm working as the lead in one of his shows. But yeah, that's a summation of Sugar Apple. That's a summation of Keith.
Did I miss something here, or did you guys say that it was implied that Keith and Anne are sisters, are brothers?
Yeah, or related.
Not related.
Yeah.
This is a novela already. No?
I know, right? Con la sangre. What are we talking about?
That's why I like it so much. It's a novela.
I believe he implied it in the episode that they're staying there, him and Anne and I don't know who else were staying at the same place, and it was nighttime, and they were out in the hallway talking about it.
Yep. They, and also if you notice, and Celeste brought this up. Celeste was they're the only 2 who have that hair color.
No,
Yes, exactly. I remember that's it. Me thinking that same thing. I'm like, that makes sense because their hair colors are so similar, and we know anime, and they love to do everything by color.
Exactly, and I was talking with Celeste. I was like, it also makes sense that Keith didn't make a pass at it. Like, I don't think he knows, but I think that whoever who's writing the the series is like, I'm not gonna pull a Star Wars. I'm not gonna have Luke tongue Leia and then retcon it later. I think that it's just gonna be he's just a good guy, and then we find out later that might be that they're related. So I actually kind of like sparked my interest. I have to go like find the books and finish them because they're doing the manga, but it's very slow. I don't know how the series has kind of lost its steam because the anime is done. I don't know if they're going to finish the manga, so I'm going to see if I can find those light novels because now I want to know.
So
If he's Luke or Leia.
I don't know if you noticed that when you said it first, I had a picture of them here on my second screen, and when you said that, there's might be siblings, I was like, whoa. Like,
though they kind of look like a little similar with their like reddish orange hair. I think they are. I mean that's just there was a lot of speculation regarding Keith. The assistant director Sarah Ragsdale was like, I think he's a vampire. They were like, we don't trust men in this show anymore. So I felt bad for all three of the dudes that pulled up in season 2, new guys, where they're just like, we don't trust any of these guys.
well, for that. But moving on to the last series, we're going to cover for Rebecca. Another beautiful story, beautiful, so many aspects. Talking about a sign of affection when you had the character Rin Fujishiro. Is it a wonderful? Hi.
Yes, Rin. I love her so much. She's so great.
How do you describe this series? Because it got me by surprise. Heads up, before you start describing it, it triggered me. Because when I saw the art, the poster of the anime, it didn't draw my attention. And God bless memes on Facebook and Reels. I saw something and I, wait, what? There's something interesting. And then I started watching it, and then Ryan told me, oh yeah, Rebecca's like, whoa, I need to watch this one. So tell us, for those who haven't watched it, and they haven't watched it because they just judged, they covered the book. How is this series?
The series focuses mostly on Yuki and Itsuomi. I don't remember their last names, but
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, I know their names. Not the other. Yeah, but it's a love story between the two of them, primarily focused on them, and Yuki being deaf, learning to navigate the world as a deaf girl and finding love with Itsuomi, and they go to the same college together. And Rin is just the wing woman to try to get Yuki to get together with Itsuomi. She ships them. She wants them to be happy. All she wants is everyone happy because she's happy. She's just a happy person. But there's other characters that come into play, like Oshi, who is like Yuki's childhood friend, and Emma, who also has like this crush on Itsuomi, and it's just small slice of life challenges, but the couple still stay strong together. And it's just a series about people falling in love, beautiful relationships, and it's just very shoujo, slice of life, cutesy. But Rin is a very, very cute, outgoing character, and something that's very much in my wheelhouse vocally to do and act.
Which every
One of the elements. Go ahead.
No, you got it.
Oh, so one of the elements I like specifically about this anime is, well, you can probably tell when you see an anime where the recording house is. Like if it's coming from Japan, it's coming from Korea, depending on the animation. See, so the Korean ones usually they differ from like the facial structure, the ears, and sometimes the hands. But in this particular anime, the hands is a very strategic point because it's about silence. So at first, I thought, why are we making the hands so detailed? Like this is, kind of a waste of budget. But then as it starts progressing, you're like, oh, So they're gonna focus more on the sign language. This is pretty cool, and they teach you a little bit, and you start learning about it. But not only does it focus on that, it actually emphasizes the fact that we as people that communicate normally, we sometimes miscommunicate, and a miscommunication can be just like either a very bad mood, or we just have like an hour, we go at it for like 5 maybe 6 minutes. But on like the sign language, is okay, I understood one thing, and this is more, spoiler alert, this is more on when he's signing like, hey, can I kiss you, and she understands something else, and then boom, he kisses her, and you're like, whoa, hold up, wait a minute, that's a little bit extreme, as a miscommunication. But the anime itself, it's fantastic. It's just fantastic. Then again, the relationship between Rin and the protagonist, it's needed, because she kind of is closed off around the world because of how she perceives the world to perceive her, and she needs Rin to give her that little push. So, I mean, Rebecca, you're doing a wonderful job. Go ahead, keep pushing her.
Yeah, the dub finished up. It was so sad. I was so sad when it finished up. But I loved how Rin just supported Yuki throughout the whole thing. Even in her, I mean, Rin was pursuing Kyoya, her love interest. But she, in a lot of situations, I think she very much focused on what Yuki's needs were and just stayed a good friend throughout the whole thing, regardless of whether, Yuki couldn't hear anything and just could only rely on sign language to talk or text, because she would text people and that's how she would get words across as well. But it's very nice, because even Rin, tried to learn and try to just be by Yuki's side, because I'm sure people who are in the deaf community, I'm sure it's very hard, and maybe I'm wrong, but I'm sure it's hard to form connections unless you probably learn sign language. But I love that they're able to show the show as it's very accepting, and I think people should be accepting of what's different and learn what they have in their world. It's like, that's what the point of the show is. It's Itsuomi going into Yuki's world and learning what she needs in her world, and her going into his world and seeing how big it is. It's kind of a beautiful thing in that way.
And it reminded me, and I thought it would be the same tone for A Silent Voice, the movie. Mm-hmm. But we're watching the first episode, like, okay, it's not the same. We are, the area is similar, but we're going a different pathway here, which I'm loving it so far. And to wrap it up with a not so serious character, talking about Paolo in Time I Got Reincarnated, that's line Vision of Coleus. We all know about slime. We know about, we just have to say slime, and we know who we're talking about. Our favorite OP guy who looks like a girl, who can be anything he wants and can do anything he wants at this point, and be the demon lord of the demon lords as today, and we're looking forward for that journey. But we have a new character in the last movie, guys. It was not a series, it was a OVA movie.
It was an OVA. It was an OVA,
which was on point.
That was a fun one, man. I was not a big Slimer, not a certified Slimer. I wasn't back then, but I'm sliming it up now. I started from the begining because, so that being said, I can't describe Reincarnated as a slime as well, because I'm just kind of dipping my feet into it. I can describe Paolo, though. Paolo, he is the greatest himbo I've played. He is a man who was there to have a good time. And he may not be there for a long time, but he had a good time. But that being said, like, no character is just two-dimensional. Paolo is, because, Paolo is an adventurer who's trying to get his rank A license. And he teams up, he is partnered with Rimuru as they go to Coleus to see what's going on over there, because there's some shenanigans going on. For those of you that have not watched it yet, it's not It's not after season 2. It's between seasons 1 and 2. That's where that takes place.
1.5.
Yeah. It's like 1.5. So Rimuru is not yet where they are now.
Right. Makes sense. I'm like, okay, now it's making sense. Didn't
Yeah.
catch. Yeah.
So that being said, Paulo is teamed up with Rimuru to go investigate Coleus, and Paulo is very brash, leaps before he looks, but he is extremely loyal. And we kind of find out towards the end of the OVA that he is very self-conscious about himself being a rank A adventurer, especially after seeing Rimuru fight and the enemies that Rimuru goes up against. He has an enormous sense of self-pride that gets tested throughout the course of the movie. And we see him grow in terms of, he keeps calling Rimuru boss. He's inspired by Rimuru, and even says towards the end there, it's like, if boss was here, he'd be able to clean these guys right on up. I can't even come close to that. It would take 100 of me to kill one of those guys. I'm not even close. But it doesn't let it stop him. He says, but even if I die doing it, at least I can say I lived my life with pride. So, people may see him and think, oh, he's the comic relief, and he is. He's funny, but there's a lot more going on under there. And I it's an OVA. It's probably not canon, but if it is, I'd love to see him come back, because I really want to play more with that, with him, and just discover more about that. The OVA ends with him faking until he makes it, captain of the guard now. And he's like, how did I get here? But yeah, he's a lot of fun to play. He's a lot of fun to play.
Which I want to wrap it up, because I feel like we will see it again. But the big question, and I just want your opinion, guys, here, and golfs here. That latest title that Paolo got at the end will get him in trouble or in a better position in future.
I think I'll say this: Paolo adapted to the battlefield when he was with Rimuru. I think he could adapt to his new job. Like, just speaking of him as a person, he still was a rank B adventurer. He's a little airheaded, but he was still rank B adventurer, who's now rank A and a captain of the guard. I think he'll be just fine.
I'm betting for trouble and drama. Funny.
Well, it ends with him finding out, like, oh man, I owe money to the demon lord. Like, I really was bad mouthing this dude at the bar, and he can like destroy continents right now. Like, here I am with my like baked job title.
Or pay for the lunch and dinner.
Yeah, you have to pay it all back. Yeah, I love him. He's funny because he was. I told Rebecca, I get cast as two different kinds of characters I've seen. Faye's the new type for me. I either get cast as these like very like soft-spoken or very cerebral characters. Like Noid is the same kind of vocal placement I did for Keith. Or I get these really rough and tumble guys, and that was Paolo. So like, it's really fun because like I wrapped up doing Paolo, and then Mike McFarland, who directed Slime and Metallic Rouge, he's like, yeah, now you play Noid, who's the exact opposite of that guy. And now I'm a Shonen protagonist, which is new to me. So yeah, but I love Paolo to death. What a silly guy.
Ryan, Rebecca, thank you so much. Before we wrap it up, any word of advice for those who are considering the voice acting career?
Yeah. I'll give two. The first one is this: don't compare yourself to another person's journey. Comparison is the thief of joy. If you're constantly comparing yourself to the person next to you, you'll never enjoy where you're at the moment. Rebecca's really big on this and helps remind me sometimes of like, hey, be content and happy where you're at. Other people don't have that. The second thing, and I will say this is a more technical thing, take acting classes. It's not enough just to jump on and, if you want to compete competitively and get represented by agents and stuff like that, They want to see an actor, not, oh, I'm a voice actor. Oh, but can you act? They want to see people that have a background in stage or film and voice acting because it shows that you have a holistic view of the art. So there's one inspiring one, there's one technical one. Take with them what you will.
Rebecca?
For acting advice or just advice in general.
General.
Uh,
Advice, I love it. Though, do not compare yourself to other wish. I
Yeah.
feel like it's important today's day.
I feel some good advice. Just remember, you're doing this journey. Just take breaks. Like, there's other things outside of voiceover. Remember that. Take care of yourself. You don't need to hustle all the time. Remember to relax. Enjoy yourself. Remember while you're doing it. Remember to have fun. You don't want to... I don't know. Did my camera turn off?
Yeah.
Oh my god, I don't know why.
Demons.
Oh, sorry.
Over there.
There we go.
All according to my plan. More time for me.
It just turned off magically, and then something was like, "Oh, your camera turned off." I'm like, "What?" Okay. But basically, just what I'm saying is, just remember, you're on this journey for the long haul. This is it's going to be long. It's not going to be easy. There's going to be times of inadequacy, comparing yourself, but just remember to have a good time. Remember that wherever you are in your journey, you're doing something, and there might be people who, you're in different stages of your career. So just remember to... My connection, I think maybe the internet's acting weird because we did have storms.
I don't want you to drop that knowledge of that nugget of knowledge. No.
The knowledge of being happy.
Yeah.
Let's suffer. Let's suffer.
I don't
And
know.
then she goes again.
I'm sorry. I don't know what's happening. Maybe a connection, because we did have a storm really bad where I was, but
Is that a...
just have fun. Have fun. Remember your birthday. Remember that you don't need to compare. Like Ryan said, you don't need to compare yourself, but you should just have a good time. Don't always try to be in this for the wrong reasons. People can smell that shit, People can tell.
Don't bet for the best. Are you here to impress or are you here to express? We're actors. We're here to express.
Mm-hmm.
I think we have a lot of life from this episode. But guys, thank you so much. Social media. For those who haven't followed you yet, which social media can they follow you? Brian.
You could find me at Twitter at Ryan Negrón VO. And that's really the only social media I use for like fans and stuff like that.
Cool. Rebecca.
Maybe when my connection works.
Don't worry. At least we're listening. The audio is great. So at least even the images.
Yeah, the image is weird. Oh well, at least the audio, right? You can hear me.
Yep.
This is my Twitter. I'll post that in chat, even though I look crazy. That's mine, Rebecca Danae VO. Yay!
Awesome. And like always, guys, just go down to the description, expand the description area, and there you will find Ryan Twitter link and Rebecca Twitter link. Just click over there, and boom, you are in X Twitter page. They want to use the like, and feel free follow them. And because you already made it over there, go to the left to the like button and go to the right to subscribe button, which helps us a lot to fight the never-ending algorithms, YouTube algorithms battle. And go to the YouTube.
I'm so sorry, I'm having allergies.
Don't worry. YouTube channel. You can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok. Only for now. What else I'm missing here?
Instagram.
Thank you. Threads. And also, if you're a fan of Formula One, looking to know what Formula One is a mathematical equation, it's a gasoline. What is Formula One? It's crazy go car playing with rich people running around in circle. Want to know what the hell is that? Go to the to get us new project cookie Formula One, when she have good videos about what is Formula One for people don't like me that doesn't know. That was a guy it was just like, what's Formula One? Is that a question? So there we explaining about everything, all the origins and what's going on. And after some Grand Prix, we have the live. We still survive to the extreme schedule, those Grand Prix. We have a live session where we discuss what happened before, what happened during it, what you miss about it, and all the rumors we're hearing about it. So, Ryan, Rebecca, thank you so much for this opportunity for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Glad the connection didn't cut out before. It's just now.
It's working now, so let me wrap it up there. See you guys in the next episode. Sayonara.
Bye.
Bye bye.